Righty-ho. Yep, Florence Nightingale. I'm assuming that everybody's heard of her. If you haven't, I don't know. I'm going to get into it because I haven't got all night as it is now, but good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good day to everyone, really. I'm in that kind of mood. Okay, so I can see the chat, and should we just crack on? I think so. Okay, so I want you to picture a scene. It's not a funny scene. I must have thought of something funny in my brain. Okay, men. It's not funny just to start with, but really get in the zone. Sorry. Okay, hospital floor, not hospital beds. Men lying side by side across the floor. Their clothing in pretty poor repair, soiled with, I'm going to call it excrement. Bodily excretions and blood and dried mud, plus the battle wounds, obviously. I mean, it would be odd that they were in hospital otherwise. So they were suffering with cholera and dysentery, and both of those were no joke. On top of that, also, they were infested head to toe with vermin of all descriptions, I think, or whatever was available at the time. So nothing is justified. Very little in the way of medicine, very little in the way of any basic medical supplies, including food. And some of them, like, get ready, some of them were served raw meat and not much else, because that's what there was. I wouldn't hazard a guess as to what meat, because they were vermin, if you remember. Either way, Florence witnessed this scene, and these were the worst conditions that at that point she had ever seen. So prior to that, never in the history of the army at that time had such free reign or unrestricted access to a military hospital been granted to a woman. She had 38 nurses, and she and they made history, firstly, as they crossed the threshold into the, we're going to call it a hospital. I don't know why, there were no medical supplies or anything like that. And this was on the edge of the Black Sea. They didn't really have time to ponder any of this or to be distracted by their surroundings, because they took on a task that was more work than they could possibly manage. Because every 24 hours, hundreds and hundreds more dying and injured British soldiers were taken ashore, and they were brought up a pretty steep slope, which can't have been comfortable, to, again, what we're going to call a hospital, which was pretty much uniquely unable or unprepared or unequipped, all three, to actually treat them or to help them. Okay. So the beginning of her life, let's have a look at that. Florence Nightingale. Okay, so from the beginning, she was certain that her life's calling was to help people who suffered, those who were suffering. By the time she got to her teenage years, she regularly, the village where she regularly visited the sick and the needy. And she recorded in her notebook, which was just scrap paper and like the backs of envelopes and stuff, like tied together. She recorded prescriptions and remedies and observations, which were related at that time to the illnesses of family members. For example, she noted how many teeth pop that's the name, had pulled at the dentist. And, you know, the status quo of Uncle Octavius's lower back pain. And then southern England, certainly in 1837, which I feel like that's a significant date for another reason. I think that's probably when births, deaths, and marriages became, like the need to record them became a legal requirement in the reign of Victoria. I feel like I'm right. That just popped out of a filing cabinet in my brain. Either way. Within the south of England in 1837, there was an influenza epidemic, and it just like swept through and ravaged, basically. And influenza, if you're thinking flu, like a little snotty nose and a couple of hot flushes, no, we're not talking about that. We're talking about the full-time big cheese of the flu, like influenza, the real stuff. Yeah, she was the only member of her household, other than the cook and her grandmother, who did not succumb to this illness. So for a month, it's a long time. Like, I just cared for somebody for a little over a week, like, who was, you know, in need. And it's pretty draining and exhausting. So for a month, she nursed her family members and others, like through the worst of it, and she can concluding basically when they had when the worst had been overcome. I have killed no patients, though I have cured few, she is recorded as saying. So while she took a rational approach to faith, she also pretty consistently sought like a personal connection with God. When she was a child, she once conducted an experiment just to find out if her prayers were being answered. So she wrote down exactly what she prayed for, as well as what she considered, bless her, an appropriate amount of time for the prayer to be answered. Rather generous of her. Yeah, she was disappointed at that time to find that when she looked for the results of any divine intervention, she couldn't find much evidence for it. I don't know what would satisfy her criteria for evidence, but yeah. Conversely, she often observed and felt connected to the presence of God within nature, and in the acts of goodwill of the people that she, witnessed around her. So while she remained a nominal Anglican, Anglicanism is the it's the doctrine of the Church of England. She stopped going to church regularly by the time she was in her 30s, and she was influenced by theologies, by philosophies, and this included medieval Roman Catholic mystics, Lutheranism, John Wesley's teachings, and the social progress and public service elements of Unitarianism. Because she was she's been observed to be recorded as very extremely rational, as it were, outwardly, and distrustful of the supernatural. Her practice was to carefully analyze every call that she heard from God, to discern whether it was an inward revelation or some form of hallucination or like a mystical sensation, as it were. And not long after the epidemic that I spoke of, and not long after, e.g., February 7th, 1837, which was a date that she noted, she heard a call from God. And the voice didn't exactly specifically inform her at that time of what form her service would take. But it was clear enough, and I guess it passed the test, because it convinced her that she shouldn't just dismiss it. So she had pretty obvious, demonstrable skills within nursing, and a passion for nursing and caring for the suffering, etc. Although her parents had no intention whatsoever of allowing their daughter to go into such a profession or career, because it was pretty much societally I don't know about unheard. It was unthinkable. Like, it just wouldn't fly, as it were, because Florence was wealthy, upper class, educated, a gentle woman, as it were, like all one word. Yeah, they just couldn't believe that she considered an occupation which was so closely related to servitude, like being, like a domestic servant, basically. And when they did hear of her plans to train at Salisbury Infirmary, her mother and father, William and Fanny Nightingale, just dismissed it basically as both selfish and foolish. And they considered that, she was expected to marry. And as she was an attractive young lady, like not only aesthetically, but obviously her position in society, etc., she did have plenty of admirers or suitors, as they would have been known, to choose from. One of these was the politician and poet Richard Monckton Milnes. Oh, bless him. And he courted her for 9 years. Courted is, I feel like maybe only my nan still says that. Dated, like seriously dated her for 9 years before she basically sent him packing in order to pursue what God had asked her to do. So for a little while, she accepted the wishes, or she acquiesced to the wishes of her parents, but not joyfully by any stretch. She was pretty bitter and under duress she did this, and she settled down to the life of a upper class English lady. She went into a deep depression as a result of her dreams being crushed, as it were. And she says, God has something for me to do for him, or he would have let me die some time ago. Like, that attests to her mental state. I hope to do it by living, then my eyes would have indeed seen his salvation. But now I am dust and nothing, worse than nothing, a curse to myself and to others. As it turned out, she couldn't let it go. She couldn't just lie down and take it, as it were, what God had given her to do. And she wrote in her diary whilst traveling in Egypt this. She said, "Oh God, thou puttest," I can't believe people actually wrote in KJV-ness. Okay. "Oh God, thou puttest into my heart this great desire to devote myself to the sick and sorrowful. I offer it to thee, do with it what is for thy service." That's nice. So she tried her father again, begged her father, once more, unsuccessfully, for him to change his mind. And then, regardless, she began to research hospitals secretly, in private, and without any fanfare or telling anyone. She chose the Institution of Nursing Sisters. And you remember Elizabeth Fry from the back of the £5 note. This Institution of Nursing Sisters had been founded by the prison reformer Elizabeth Fry, and that was at Kaiserwerth in Germany, and that had been established in 1840. And although her stay there was relatively brief, she was able to witness and observe the work of each ward in the hospital, as well as the pretty darn basic living conditions of the deaconess there. And some short while later, she produced a 32-page pamphlet, which was entitled "The Institution of Kaiserwerth on the Rhine for the Practical Training of Deaconesses." And that was a 32-page pamphlet, sorry. And these were her findings from staying there. yeah, so she came back to London in 1853 and accepted a job as a superintendent at the Institute for the Care of Sick Gentlewomen. Her father at this stage, noting that she would not be deterred, offered her an annual income that like very generously augmented her, like what would have been a pittance in salary. And then we come on to the late part of 1854. She received correspondence because obviously no text messaging, etc. Like, so she received a letter, and this letter changed her life. So Sidney Herbert, Britain's Secretary of War at the time, who was a good friend of hers, asked her to organise a group of nurses to tend to the sick and the wounded soldiers within the Crimea. And this was a pretty desperate, like dramatic, unheard of move by the British government. Because, as we noted earlier, up until this point, 0 female nurses had ever been stationed at hospitals in war, out of war, not only because they were women, but also due to their poor reputation. Okay, many nurses were inclined to drunkenness. I mean, isn't that still the case? I'm not sure. Lovely people. They lacked, it says here, real caretaking skills, and they spent more time cavorting with the patients in the wards after dark. I mean, they had very stressful jobs. Like, I'm not justifying, but it's no coincidence they're well known for having a good party. Either way, nothing had changed back then, or nothing was about to change until now even. Anyhow, they had thousands of wounded. They had thousands of desperately ill and dying soldiers, and they were within hospitals that were understaffed, under-equipped, overwhelmed, but just completely unprepared, really. And therefore, England had no choice but to call in females and female nurses. So within a few weeks of receiving Herbert's letter, she accepted, and the position she accepted was superintendent of nurses in the English General Military Hospitals within Turkey. Go on, Florence. Right. So she got together, as I said before, 38 nurses from various different religious orders. At one point, certainly even within London, midwives were most certainly from convents in the main. So where was I? Yeah, she got all these different religious orders to give up nurses. They totaled 38, and off they went sailing, not even flying, to the Crimea, and they got out, or disembarked as it's called, in Scutari, and that was November 4th, 8:54, round about breakfast time. So, because of their position, they're groundbreaking, obviously, but also hugely distrusted, I guess, or scorned. And because of this, they were initially not allowed to care for any of the soldiers unless granted explicit permission even by the medical officer in charge. I guess that was potentially for each and every patient, or maybe even each act of care, because hashtag rules. So she went along with the rules and the regulations, the military regulations, with what I feel maybe, I don't know, with scrupulous attention. I like this woman. None of her nurses nor herself entered a ward, or did as much as even fetch a bedpan, which is something that you go to the lavatory with, unless they were specifically asked to do so. You'll be surprised at this. When 500 seriously ill and wounded servicemen arrived, the mood changed somewhat. And the surgeons and the medical officers basically abandoned the protocol. And pretty soon, very similar to modern nurses, Florence and her staff were working 24-hour shifts, and they were soaking off like a filthy, bloody bandages from the wounds that had been dressed like in the middle of a battle. Maybe more than a week, 10 days ago. They were assisting with amputations like it was no picnic. Amputations are never a picnic, but we're just talking about like not much in the way of anesthesia or finesse. They were also administering the most basic care with as little supplies as they had, as well as they could. "We are steeped up to our necks in blood," said Florence. And when she wasn't triaging, Florence, she just set to work to try to tackle the disgusting conditions. And we're talking rats, we're talking lice, and we're talking a whole raft of other, animals that you don't want to really see in an indoor setting. She went on one a bit. She went on like a campaign, a thorough campaign to wash these men, because you may remember, like, hygiene, even the knowledge of the health benefits of certain hygienic practices was not yet readily available. So she went on, she did this big thing. She washed them all. She fed them with food that had nutritious value. She gave them clean clothes and bedding. She got boilers from the Army engineers. She transformed a tiny house near to the hospital, made it into a laundry. She sailed straight past any official government procedures that got in her way, and she convinced Herbert, who you remember is the Minister for War, to send her supplies directly from London. And she made an appeal, and it was published in the Times, which is a very well-respected English broadsheet, like a newspaper. And she got hundreds of pieces of linen, thousands of pounds in donations, and those thousands would equate, to millions today. She organised, she planned for, she paid from her own money for 200 Turkish carpenters to refloor a section of the barrack hospital, which had been damaged by fire. So she just made this like a superhuman, as it were, like this massive effort. And in spite of this, the death toll just continued to skyrocket. It went up to 42% over the winter of 1855. So of every 100 men who were admitted, 42 didn't ever come out again alive. And they weren't dying from war wounds. They were dying from dysentery, cholera, and other illnesses. So when the British government, finally, bless them, sent in the Sanitary Commission to investigate, couldn't they have just written, in the March of 1855, basically it was discovered the building was situated, it was sat on a cesspool, and the sewers were clogged with the dead bodies of rotting animals. I mean, can it get better? What do you reckon? I feel that it should, just on a Romans 8:28, right? Oh, charm, lovely. They had a decomposing horse, not something you overlook easily, which was blocking a large pipe that carried the water into the hospital. Okie dokie. Raw sewage, love a bit. Raw sewage was found seeping into the water supply also. The ventilation system was knackered. The windows needed repair in order to be opened. The corridors needed reflooring, the walls needed whitewashing. The sanitation committee oversaw this whilst re-engineering the flow of sewage out to sea. They were right on the coast. And by June, so they began this in March, if you remember, by June, the mortality rate, i.e. the rate at which people were not surviving, it had gone down to 2%. So let me just skirt back through. 42% to 2%. Now only 2 men of every 100 were dying. Pretty amazing. And at the time, guess who got the credit? It was, it was given to the act of the sanitation overhaul. Although, more recently, some historians have noted that the improvement may well have been due to basically summer arriving and an overall reduction in numbers, overall like crowding. I feel like potentially taking a dead horse out of the water supply and removing fecal matter. Call me old-fashioned. I feel like that may have had something to do with it. Anyway, she has been, Florence, she has been criticised, and she's pretty much been canonised also for her contribution to the Crimean War. She has a biographer, she has many, I guess, but Gillian Gill says this: in the 19th century, too much credit for that drop in mortality was probably given to Florence Nightingale in person. However, in the 20th century, she was certainly given too little. So, whilst Florence initially believed that the death rates within this hospital were due to, poor food, lack of supplies, exhaustion, the overworking of the soldiers in the first place, after she came back to Britain and began to collect evidence for her suppositions for the Royal Commission on the Health of the Army, she came to believe that the majority of the soldiers died as a result of poor sanitary conditions. And this massively affected her later career, her subsequent career. And whilst largely bedridden by chronic illness, she advised still the British government on military hospital reform. She also advocated tirelessly for sanitation improvements within Britain and India, which you'll remember was part of the empire, because it wasn't, it wasn't just, what's the word, obvious. It wasn't a matter of fact, these things. This was, I won't say revolutionary, but I will, because I just did. So she also founded a nurses training school at St. Thomas's Hospital in London. And she also wrote notes on nursing, which was used as like I don't know how to put it as importantly as it is, like it was the backbone of the nursing curriculum, or like nursing training for just decades. If we only, so the Lady of the Lamp, that was the kind of romanticized title that she was given. But if we only look at the somewhat mythologized or the legend of her, what we do is fail to see some of the most significant, the most lasting contributions that anyone, let alone a lady, has given to military hospital reform, nursing, hospital sanitization. Really? She worked tirelessly. She was at the bedside of just countless, well, I don't say countless, thousands and thousands of injured and dying men. That's no joke. People dying. I don't even get into it. It's pretty draining. Just the 1, the 2, the 5, the 10, thousands. She walked miles and miles of corridors with, just an oil lamp, as it were. There was no big bright lights or anything like that. The work she did upon her return, which, like I say, she conducted largely from her bed because she was so chronically ill herself. So that part of her story, if not more important, it's equal to the impact and the importance of her work for, the wartime effort and service that she rendered. And that's the impact that it has on the overarching history of healthcare. And if you're anywhere in the Commonwealth or Western nations, like, you will owe something certainly to her. When she, so she fought even in the first place to do what God had, she deemed that God had asked her to do. When she did offer these skills and the passion and the indefatigable spirit and the, bravery and compassion, the quote is her great desire to devote herself to the sick and the sorrowful, which is what she had decided with a little pen and paper, was what God was saying that day while she was in Egypt on holiday. Even she could never have imagined the impact and the outcome of one woman's obedience to what God wanted her to do. And God used her. That's the thing with the gifts of the Spirit. He took what was already there from childhood, which was a desire to help the sick and the suffering, and he put the God touch on it. I don't know how to say it. He inspired, he gifted her. That's the word. She was gifted with the ability and a devotion and an even greater desire than she began with, and that far exceeded her expectations. And got God's plan sorted. So that's that. What are you arguing about there in the chat? Murad, I'm going to answer your question right now. Okay, Matthew 14:27. Just for anyone who can't see the chat, Murad doesn't see where Jesus says, worship me. I'm imagining because I can only see the bottom of the chat, that somewhere up the top, Murad also couldn't see where Jesus said he was God. If not, I'm gonna hit you up with both of them. Let's think. Each time, in Matthew 14:27 of the Aramaic, you remember, Jesus's mother tongue, Aramaic Plain English Bible, he says, "Fear not, I am the living God." So that's that. Also, because obviously everyone, Muslims are always arguing about the Arabic. But the Aramaic. Also, each time, when the Jews picked up stones, they knew he was calling himself God. Each time he called himself God or claimed to be the I am, or, the Alpha and the Omega, or, when he claimed to be able to forgive sins, when he called on God to share with him the glory, when he told them before Abraham was I am, when he said just so much of it, he displays the divinity. When he did that, he is implicitly saying that he is worthy of worship, because God alone is worthy of worship, and he is claiming to be God. Also, when is it Peter? I feel like it could be Peter. When one of the disciples, at any rate, they all did, but when one of them fell down to worship him, he didn't rebuke them. There's I can't think where it is, but in the Old Testament, certainly somebody falls down at the feet of an angel and is ready to worship them, and the angel's like, "No, bro." Obviously, he didn't speak London. He's like, no, we're on the same level here, kind of thing, in terms of in comparison to God. Jesus accepted worship. He claimed to be God. He was God, whether you like it or not. So stick that in your pipe, really. But anyway, and it does matter if you're a Muslim, because why would you lie about it? Why would you hide it? Wouldn't that seem a little bit like I don't know, you're not embarrassed, are you, to be a Muslim? Doesn't Allah guide who he guides and misguide who he misguides? Have I got something wrong? Surely. And the fact is, you shouldn't really be giving dawah, because Allah says, who are you to guide who I've misguided? Maybe you're not Muslim. Maybe you just pretend to be one so you can attack Christians. I don't know. Anyway, anyone interested? Anyone interested? I see interesting peoples. So do I, Jordan. I really do. I was going to do a different kind of a different vid altogether, and then I thought, no, I'll have a little bit of a heroine of the faith, as it were. So yeah, you're welcome. Oh, Cherokee, lovey. I just saw you here. No, I don't think he would do that. Mr. Brown doesn't care. He just bowl in as himself. So I don't know. I feel like there's enough. I feel like there's enough Islam to go around, Cherokee. You know, it's that whole, blinded by Satan kind of thing. Anyhow. Oh, Carol, I was done anyway. I came to the end, babes. No worries. But I am very kind. No, also very humble, obviously. Had the worst day. The worst day. But, yeah. That's it. I know there's some Romans 8:28 in there, but I'll find it tomorrow morning, maybe. Anyway, any questions? Not about Florence, because I'm not a biographer. I mean, I could have a go. Any questions, comments, cuddles, loveliness? What? Don't know. Okay then. Just all sit and droll me. Freak finger accidents happening everywhere. Oh, Turkey. Bless ya. You're such a sweetie. Thank you, Judd. It's been a long time. Where did you pop up from? It's been ages. Oh my god, I feel like maybe I went a bit too. I can do them as it were. One lash of the tongue at 10 paces. Maybe he's just licking his wounds. Maybe his mum's called out that it's actually bedtime and to come up out of the cellar. Don't know. You right, Mohammed? Watcha. Anyhow, that was a question. You're right, oh god, but I meant another. It's all right. I didn't have to hold on to the car door and run along with them. I could have just left him alone. Damn to hell. But no, I thought I'd have a go because it's such a boring one. Such an obviously, like it's such an answerable, like Ahmad Didat kind of nonsense. While we're at it, John 17:3, though, the only true God one. When Christ therefore says to Thomas, those who have seen me have seen the Father, he could have said, those who have seen me have seen God. That would have made it easy for the Muslims. But no, he said the Father. But already the Father's been referenced as the only true God. Therefore, he's saying those who have seen me have seen the only true God. I mean, he didn't do a little dance afterwards or anything, but boom, like, what more do you want? What? Salvation? Oh, good. Man. Cheers, love. I didn't know that, Carol. Carol was saying that apparently, i.e., it's sad or it's said. Okay, either way, it's being reported in the live chat that Florence did not believe in germ theory. I guess, and like maybe, and attributed it to bad odors, as in that was like a prevailing theory, like with the smelling salts and all of that jazz. But germ theory, I don't know how she could have disbelieved in it in as much as I don't feel like it existed. Like if it did, it was in its embryonic, like infancy. Even though, to be fair, in the Bible it talks about hand washing. So, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, England wasn't a very sanitary like affair. Certainly at some point there were no indoor lavatories, and it all just went out the window. Literally, got lobbed out the window. I feel like maybe they used to shout something first so you could get out of the way, but it's got to have happened. Yeah. You think you're having a bad day? Yeah, good job you've got a time machine. Anyway, I think I scared him off. Oh my god. Anyone else love me enough to keep me here? Otherwise, I'm going to press the first button anyway, because like I said, long day. Death, dying, bereavement, grief, and irritation, weirdly. And of course, retards. It goes without saying. That's why I just said it. Oh yeah, because it's true. Any more for any more? I don't mind actually. Like I'm not holding you hostage or anything. I'm just wondering. Maybe it's my connection. Okay. I feel like I should be counting down from 5. That's a good number to count down from. It is. Yep. It is. It's definitely past pumpkin time. But Carol, oh, what a day, mate. Yeah, just set like a wow. What a couple of years. I mean, I don't even feel like I'm drawing a comparison with the fact of like COVID and that, but so many people I know died and keep dying. It's getting a little bit. It's getting a little bit old now. You know what I mean? But it doesn't hurt any less. Each time you feel like you should be able to get like practiced and just doesn't. Oh, bring it down, okay. Okay. But anyway, this is the reason. This is the reason that if you've got the chance to make someone feel happy or to tell them about Jesus or to like spend time with them now, you never like not I mean this time like the blessing was that we knew it was coming, but that's not always the case. Like sometimes they just they're just gone. So ultimately they're still just gone if you get a run up to it, but don't wait until that time, which may not come, like the the diagnoses, as it were. Just do it now. Just imagine what your life would be like without whomever, everyone you know, maybe potentially. Like imagine if they were just gone. Try to like zone in on that feeling and then think, what would I want to tell them? Like, oh, what do I wish I would, what could I just kick myself right in the face for not having said? And then just say it. Like, I know it's cheating the system, but who cares? Just do it anyway, because none of us might you might not get a chance because you might not be here tomorrow. I don't mean because I like ban you from the channel. I mean, nobody's guaranteed any tomorrows at all. So you might as well live as if you mean it. Just saying. I lost that service, etc. Thank you, Duet. I may seem tired. I'm somebody in my life passed away today, so I'm a bit tired of people dying all the time. But they've been doing it since the beginning. So yeah, I just don't recall it so much as a child. When I was a child, it used to feel like maybe once every few years, if that. Like I remember, I don't know, maybe 2, 3 by the time I was 10. And then it just picked up pace. And now it feels like every 20 minutes. You can't even get over one and there's another one. Anyway, I love you all. Just in case I die in the night and don't get a chance to tell you. I'm commanded to. Don't get excited if you have challenging personality issues. But you're here, so I'll give you a squeeze. That's all right, Cherokee. I mean, I'd say you'd know if you're in the group, but you'd know if you're in the group. Just joking. I know, you don't get over it. It just gets a little bit less dramatic. Armour of God is so clearly male at this point. But that's all right then. Oh, gosh. Silly me. Oh, just put all those tissues away. and go back to the non-waterproof mascara, kid? Okay. What a lovely, what a, I can't think of the right word for a video. What an absolute spaz. With love and affection, obviously. Thank you, Duad. See, look up. Oh, I've got to scroll up, you see. So sorry for your loss, little doodah. Like, it's not difficult. If you say chocolate, it's going to go very harshly for you because I've run out at the moment. Anyway, now I'm just sitting. I know you are. I'm only kidding. Cherokee, you really do need to come to England soon because humph is when you're pouting, when you're like that, and also stiff upper lip. Like you can still wobble your bottom one. It doesn't actually feel like you can still cry with a stiff upper lip. You still punch people in the face whilst having a stiff upper lip. I don't know how to stiff. Yeah, I feel like I may have missed out that like key part of my Englishness education. I'm not going to do it on camera. I'm practicing. Cherokee. I don't know about starch. Maybe like a cardboard arrangement. Anyway, I miss laughing a lot. I miss having the opportunity to not have to think about grown-up stuff all the time. So boring. Childhood is wasted on children. This is how I really feel. I mean, I like them and that. I couldn't eat a whole one. It's just a waste. They're just running about thinking they've got all the diary of the world. Everything lasts ages when you're a kid. Everything's exciting or heavily dramatic. Anyway, I feel like I've got that out of my system now. This video is going to be heavily edited because poor Florence, I feel like she deserves a slightly higher level of, I don't know, more gravitas, potentially. Anyhow, God told her to do something. She did it. And it all went. Romans 8:28 style. I get told to do things. I've lost it. Oh, my final marble just rolled out. I get asked to do things. God plonks a load of stuff on me. Thank you, obviously. And then I just feel like a big bag of, I can't say it. Yeah. Well, she did. I don't suppose she was like bouncing around happy while she was doing it, but. Okay, we're going to press the button. Take this emotional roller coaster. Mohammed, I do try. You got to, yeah, otherwise it's just, what's the point? Anyhow, okay, this is it now. I've got to press the button because I feel all maudlin. And that's exactly it, Carol. I know. And there's things I do that make like things better, for other people. I mean, yay. I just feel, why do I have to feel like shiz or why shouldn't I? I guess. But if I'm suffering, I'm taking you all down with me. No, I'm joking. I mean, that is biblical. Like when one suffers, I'm not suffering. I'm just awaiting happy, as it were. Anyhow, that's it now. That's it. That's it. I'm doing it. I'm going to press the button. I hate to leave your abandonment issues and all that, but I do feel slightly disassociated. Yeah, I've got to go because of hashtag reasons, and that's what I'm doing. So, oh, Durat, I just see your comment. Oh, no. No, I'm not. No, I'm really not. But that's the reason that I'm so very grateful for God's patience and his forgiveness. Because, yeah, that's definitely not a descriptor that fits me. But, day by day, we sort it all out. Anyway. Right, God bless you. Keep you. Make sure you wash your hands before you go to bed or after you go to the lavatory or before you tend to thousands of wounded, dysentery-ridden soldiers. And, yeah, I'll see you next time. Ciao. Bye-bye.